What's up, folks? I'm Konrad. Tonight we're joined by, once again, the amazing Keith Grachow. Keith, how you doing, bud?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. For those of you who are just joining us recently, welcome to the show. For those of you who have tuned in previously, you will notice things look different. We're trying a new streaming platform, so we're going to see how this all works out. So far, so good. Yeah. So, Keith, no hat today. You've got some changes going on, and you've done something recently that is a little different than normal regarding Fan Expo.
Okay. I was like, where are we going with that?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about that. So for what I imagine is the first time in a fairly long time, you went to Fan Expo as a fan.
Yeah.
How was that? What up with that?
Let me. So before we begin, for all those that are new, I'm going to be drawing or sketching live, I guess, drawing live.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share my screen. So if it's okay, I'm going to draw something that I'm working on.
Yes.
Because I got permission to do that, and I need to get it done. So
right up.
I can.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just real quickly. It's a story. It's going to be a graphic novel. Right now, this is a pitch for a story called Cushing County, written by Sarah Furlong Warren, and co-created by me, I guess. Like it's, she's very, very open to collaboration. So
Cool.
we're organically evolving the story from her original script. Anyway,
Okay.
this is going to be like a pitch package type thing, pitch comic, where we get to see the first couple of chapters of the story about these characters that live in this land underneath your cushions, all the stuff that gets dropped into a cushion, all the candy and popcorn and things like that get dropped. They become sentient, and so now we're in this place called Cushing County, and I'm drawing some pages with a character named Dustin and Chip.
Nice.
Dustin it's a dust bunny, and Chip is a potato chip. So I figure you can watch me. I'm in the inking stage of this, so we can talk about that kind of stuff as well. But so that's the preamble to the what you're seeing here, and then going into Fan Expo. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I actually was just there as like a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been to the show where I've helped somebody, but I haven't been there where I just show up, walk around, do whatever I want to do, and then leave when I want to leave, right? And so maybe 16 years.
Right? Whoa. Yeah.
So, yeah, like a long time, maybe even longer than that. But it was, I had a game plan, so I kind of knew, I already, being familiar with how it works, where on a Saturday, which is the day I went, it's like the busiest day. It's really, really crowded. Walking around in Artist Alley is a real jungle. Like if you have fear of, crowds and small spaces, Saturday is not the day to go.
No.
I went later in the day knowing that timing it well, I would be able to go from like the back issue area to the Artist Alley area in a way where by the time I got to Artist Alley, it would start to drain out because I know how it ebbs and flows, having done it so many years. So I spent the first couple hours just like going from back issue bin to back issue bin, just
Nice.
kind of taking my time, looking around, and then once I did that, then I went to start talking to some people that I am friends with and don't necessarily always get a chance to chat with, and also just being aware that they're there to make sales, so I don't want to like take on too much space,
Yeah.
be too much space in front of their table, take up too much of their brain power, because I know what it's like on a Saturday. So I was just aware of that, and also um, trying to get to see some people that I wanted to chat with. Unfortunately, the nature of that means that I can't see a lot of people because, right, like you really have a window of about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do that. It's about
Yeah.
the clock when things start to drain out in that area. Closes at 7. So, and sometimes some of the creators start leaving at around 6, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
with myself, those 2 hours, I think I got to see, maybe a dozen people, but there were so many more people that I know I wanted to see. And I know some people were like, asking for me to come see them prior, because I had sent out a message. So unfortunately I didn't get to see them, and I'm sorry I didn't, but, um, like I know I'll see a lot of those people again soon because I, see a lot of them throughout the year. Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that was my experience, I think, for doing that. And this year I just had so many things going on that I wasn't really thinking about. I just didn't think I'd have time for Fan Expo.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a bunch of books I need to get out the door. I have to prep for September, where I have a lot of shows and stuff. So
Yep.
Fan Expo is a lot of work. It's a 4-day show, and I didn't have any new products ready. I'll have new books. Like I have another pitch book that's going to be out, Summer on the Swing. It's the book that my mom and I worked on.
Yes.
So we actually got a part of that printed. Hey, Paul. Um, and we're going to be selling that starting in September, but
Oh,
it
wow.
wouldn't be ready for it. Just wasn't going to be ready for August for Fan Expo. Same thing with
Yeah.
Saltwater issue number 6. It wasn't going to be ready for it. So I didn't really have anything new to share with anybody, and a lot of times, like 30% of my sales were people coming to see the new
Mm-hmm.
stuff I have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So having a lot to work on, not having anything new, the amount of work that goes into Fan Expo, just prepping for the show. I would probably have like some prints and some original art ready for it, and then it's always lots of decompression. It takes me like a good week of like getting down from all the highs that you've been on for 4 days straight. It takes me about the same amount of time because I'm as you've seen, Konrad, I don't stop. Like
No, you
I
are.
stand
Go.
and
Yeah.
interact with every single person that goes by my table, except for when I'm like, if I take a break to go,
Yeah.
look around or something like that. But most of the time I'm at my table, just sometimes I never leave. I very rarely leave that table, and I don't even
Oh,
get to
yeah.
see anybody outside of the zone of interest that I'm in. Um, so it's always a lot. And then I have a show coming up where I have to go fly, and
Oh.
if I get sick, the from Fan Expo, that's always a really not a good experience if I'm not feeling well for that next show where I've got to go. I don't Some of those people that are like constantly doing shows, like my friend Fran Delgado, I just saw that she's like at Dragon Con now. So she
Oh,
just
wow.
jumped from Fan Expo to Dragon. Like
Ooh.
she's like a monster, like just crazy amount of work and energy she's
Oh, my
got.
God.
So I give it to her with all the and people like that are just, you know, constantly doing shows. I don't have that. I don't have that
Yeah.
in me. Anyway.
Say, oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to do that kind of thing. So, yeah. So yeah, like it was just generally nice to see people to be able to quick, you know, like I for the most part, it was really me to kind of go to some people where I'm like, hey, let's go for that drink, right? When we have some time, so that I can, you know, make a plan to see somebody in like a month or two, right?
Oh, exactly. Properly
So
get to sit down and not, like you said earlier, not feel worried about, oh, they're also working, trying to get sales. You don't want to take away from that.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and just like all the craziness of being in a con. Whew,
yeah, for sure.
my God.
But yeah, I mean, there's so we can talk a little bit about some of the things that happened at the show. I don't know if people know some of the.
Yes, I
Uh,
wanted to know if you were gonna talk about this, or what you had seen of it while you were there. Um, do you want to roll with it? Do you want to give a little bit of a prime that went on?
so Fan Expo Canada takes up a north building and south building of the Metro Toronto Convention Center. Fan
Big
Expo Canada, like where the artist alley and people, a lot of the vendors are in the south building. And the north
area.
building, you have celebrities and lots of like
Merchandise, collectibles.
but also like some of the bigger companies will have like displays. And
Yeah.
I believe that's where Bell Canada was. They were in the north building. And so
Oh, okay.
I think that's where they were. I could be wrong about that. I didn't see them when I was there in the south building.
Well, now I'm curious.
Let's look that up. So anyway, Bell
Yep.
Canada was there. They had a big display where they had people have their photo taken, and then AI, some kind of AI program would generate them as like characters, right? And so it's what we've seen with a lot of the, you know, Midjourney and all that kind of stuff. All those programs or any of those apps you can get off, you know, on your phone, where it turns you into like some kind of, you know, cartoonized version of you, or you know, it could. I didn't actually see it, so I don't know the how. I'm sure it could have done anything from a very realistic version of you as like Captain America to like a cartoon version of you. And the issue was that Fan Expo Canada, the proper, didn't really communicate, nor did Bell Canada communicate what the actual um, display was, and it didn't communicate that to any of the like to like Kevin Boyd, who runs the guests in the Artist Alley, or any of his team. Like he didn't have any idea about it.
Oh
So
my God, they didn't even loop him in.
no, Fan Expo didn't communicate it to, and that's where the problem came about. So because of what AI is to artists, and because it's just considered something that is very divisive. It's taking a lot of artists' livelihoods. It's copying, stealing their work, I should say, copying and stealing their work. So there's a lot of issue with AI, and so because there wasn't communication when people saw it, especially some of the artists, they were very upset, rightfully so, and they ended up, you know, like shouting out on the socials what it was, and that started to get other people aware. And then before you know it, on the Friday, I believe, you had like a sit-in kind of thing, like people like blocking you know, the fans, I guess, from being able to get access to the Bell Canada table. And because of there being a miscommunication, not letting people know what was going on, you know, people are getting rightly upset. Police were called in. The police person that was there, and this is like what I've read, so anybody can read up on it. But I guess the police person was like there as like a middle person, really, as somebody who is trying to just get both sides to know like what was going on to
Hmm.
mediate. That's what my dad does, and so uh, he, so this really great police person started to get information from Bell Canada to communicate to artists. I think Aaron Reynolds was maybe there for this. I'm not 100% sure. He seemed to know a lot of what was going on with it because he posted some of the details. But supposedly, this is
Yes.
again from Aaron Reynolds. You can go and find his effing birds on Facebook or Aaron. I think Aaron Reynolds is himself on Facebook. Anyway, that Bell Canada had actually went out of their way to make it a friendly environment for artists. In other words, they were very aware of the environmental impact it would have. They were aware of um, the use of the imagery, and
Hmm.
so supposedly the imagery was like um, it was like stock imagery, or it was like imagery that was paid for, and then
Sure.
the actual um, the actual energy use from the machines to create the AI was like very like clean and very like some kind of I'm not sure exactly how the logistics of it work, but it like some kind of like renewable like clean energy source, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
they actually and they were surprised. The people there that were running were surprised. They're like, why are people freaking out about this? And ultimately, I think it's because Fan Expo proper dropped the ball, didn't communicate this to Kevin Boyd and his team, because if they had known, they could have explained it to the artists and said, listen, this isn't in any way we're not, it's not off of any of your art. It's done in a very environmentally friendly way. You can argue that, and again, I don't know if it was in the North Building or not. I don't know if it would take work away from them because a lot of those artists who are there do commission work at the show.
Yeah.
And so you can say that maybe that's the one area of it that could have been, like that did some harm, right? If people are losing, and I have no idea. I don't know if anybody, I haven't seen any posts saying, my sales were down this year because of I got much less commissions than I normally do. I
Yeah.
something tells me I would be hard pressed to think that somebody who got like a free version of themselves would be like, well, I was thinking about getting a commission today and paying for something, but I can get this for free. Like, I think
Yeah.
those types of people either A would get something regardless, or B would never pay for anything. That's my speculation. I don't have any proof of that, but that would be my thinking, is that somebody would um, not necessarily uh, take anything away from the artist. But, again, I don't know. So
Yeah. It's.
that was the big kerfuffle uh, on Friday. By the time I was there on Saturday, honestly, I totally forgot about it. I was thinking, oh, maybe I should go check it out. When you're in front of all those people, like all of your, it's just so much like sensory overload, and that's why I understand how people might feel
Oh yeah.
being on. I can when I'm tabling, I'm very focused, and it's just I know what my surroundings are, and it's to some degree they're
Yep.
very controlled. Whereas when you're out there and just constantly being bombarded by people and all that, it's a lot. It takes a lot. So my brain kind of it was hard enough for me to try to like make sure that I was aware of the time and to make sure I was connecting with my friends. That we were able to like make
Hmm.
sure we knew where we were throughout the thing, and all that stuff. So anyway, um, that was the big to do at the show, I think.
Oh yeah, massive. Like it was interesting because I saw, and my partner sent me a video. So I can actually, because I can and quite easily so credit this person. Um, Basically, I came across a video that just came up in my timeline because I was like, oh, this is just doom scrolling. Um, this person's name is on Instagram, of course. Goes by Sailor Omizi, where it's 0MIZIE underscore. This is a very young person. In their profile, they're saying they're 18. They're basically a cosplayer, and the content of their video basically was like, Fan Expo, how could you do this? Why would you put that as a part of it? Especially apparently it was fairly close to
So maybe
Artist
it
Alley, I
was in the
guess.
South Building. Again, I didn't see it.
Yeah, maybe it was. But yeah, like they were quite outraged about it. And then I was like, oh, that's really interesting, but like, okay, like one person's opinion, fair. And then I kept scrolling, and I did see Aaron Reynolds post about it, where the picture there that I saw, or maybe it was a story, was basically a person who was standing against one of the
Yeah.
columns, or two people, I should say. And they were holding up signs that were like, AI, basically anti-AI signs. I don't know what the wording was on them, but AI is bad, basically. And there was a cop in the photo,
Yeah.
so this was taken during like the event, if you will. And yeah, I found it really interesting that, especially given all that happened regarding TCAF and the AI artists, or AI generator
Were there?
users,
I didn't know
I'll
that
say,
there were people at
who.
TCAF doing that.
So what happened at TCAF, and I don't know how many years ago this was now. It was during the pandemic, I
Okay.
believe.
It wasn't at the last
Or
TCAF.
just post.
And just for people that are,
It was
and
no,
for
not the
people that
last
don't
one.
know,
No,
Toronto
God, no.
Comic Arts Festival. It's one of the largest indie fests for comic artists in the world, and it's held in Toronto, May-ish. So I was there at the last one.
Yeah,
but yeah,
super cool show. Yeah, so not at the last one. Like I said, this might be, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago now. But there were going to be artists, with quotations in the air there, who were using AI, and TCAF had announced it, and not like, hey, we're putting this person in. It was like, here's all the guests. And I guess, curious people get, some of the guests were going through and seeing who else was going to be there. Probably not unlike yourself, where you're going to go, are my friends going to be there?
Yep.
People I like to catch up with, or whatever. And people started seeing this person using AI to generate art. And there was a pretty big stink about it, I would say, to the point where TCAF was like, hey, we see what the community is saying. We've pulled this person from the show. No problem. I'm unsure if that is in the times where they were doing that digital show, or if it was one of the first ones back.
It could have been the digital marketplace, the online marketplace that they have.
Yeah. But it was, I thought TCAF handled it well. They saw how people were reacting and went, you know what, based on what this show was about and in the community that it's for, probably a good idea not to include this person using AI, who could very well be, even unknowingly so, taking art from other people that are in the show. And so I find it fascinating that, and again, like the way you said it, like Kevin Boyd, who organizes the show, or his portion of it, didn't even know that was going to happen. That's wild. So Bell must have been like, hey, we want to have a spot at the show where we want it this big. And, someone somewhere, Kevin himself, someone else must have gone, okay, cool. I mean, it's Bell. They're probably going to hand out, getting back to school deals, flyers or whatever, and maybe have a video or something cool. But yeah, for them not to, I don't know, like day one would have been like, okay, what's the display for, folks? And how are you using it?
I think more than I think it's probably simpler than that. I just think Kevin has a lot of work to do, and he's got multiple shows he's constantly dealing with, and so he wouldn't think to ask what companies are going to be there unless it's directly related to anything he does. So, and why would they tell him? Because, again, he's just there organizing the guests. So it's it's probably just something that wouldn't occur to anybody, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe in the
Yeah.
future, Kevin may say, "Hey," to one of his team, go, "Hey, I just so I'm not surprised again, just let me know what's going on the other side of stuff. Uh, you know, keep in the loop there, and then maybe that I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works for him, but that would be my thinking is that like you just want to make sure because to what he said was on the Friday or something or Saturday, he's like, I spent my whole day on Friday like
Mm.
trying to put out fires, and so like
Wow.
his job is to make the guests, the artists happy, so that they come back, so that they say it's a great show, and they tell other artists to go and do it, right? And so like he's there to make sure that'll every or just any kind of like logistical things, people get to be where they're supposed to be, to get the comic explosion that they're now
Yeah.
doing every Saturday, that's going smooth, right? So all those things are just the things just to keep things going, and you don't need some kind of like some kind of huge scandal to occupy your time on top of it, right? So
Oh,
it's
hell no.
it's probably beneficial, I think, if in the future, yeah, he maybe has somebody there that can just go, just let me know what's going on, so I'm not left in the lurch at the last minute, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I could definitely imagine, especially if he spent his whole Friday like putting out fires, there will be new protocols in place for
Yeah.
his team. Like it's fascinating, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, I guess like that was the only major thing I know. Some friends of ours and who've previously been on Wednesday Night Reviews had some panels that they did. So Howard Wong, our mutual friend, and your co-creator on some projects. Howard hosted some panels. Um, I know Sean Daly, Becca Kinsey, I believe Martin Slam Duncan, and
Well,
a
they had
couple other
the
people.
Sketchelmania. You had
Yeah,
Stephanie Cook. She was running a bunch of panels. I don't know if she was running panels or she was just at panels, but I know she was there for that. Just paneling.
right
Like
on.
there was a world where you could have just. I didn't actually realize that until I think the week before. I was like, oh, I could have just paneled there if I wanted to, but um, I didn't have the bandwidth. I was just.
Nah,
I know Howard wanted me to get
fair.
into some of these panels, but or to get panels created, but he's just working with whatever they give him, right? So, um, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, there was a bunch of the panels and stuff like that, and then there was the comic explosion on Saturday, which I didn't go to. I was too hungry, and then so a bunch of us ended up we were going to go. So the comic explosion is a new thing Fan Expo's doing. It's essentially where you get to watch. It's kind of like what I'm doing here, except a bunch of artists are drawing, painting live, and then I think you can bid on them.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't done any of them yet. I mean, I could have been at any of
Oh.
them, I guess, but I just haven't. Um, and so they were doing that at the rec center on Saturday night, and so that's a big thing that's I think starting to really gain a lot of
Hmm.
traction with artists as well as just the fans being able to witness a bunch of artists, like indie to well-known mainstream artists creating art on the spot. It's
Oh
usually
yeah.
um, you can like pencil out what you're going to do first because you only have an hour, and then there's two rounds. I
Oh
think there's
yeah.
like
Okay.
one. It's like 7:30 to 8:30, and then there's another 9 to 10 or something like that. Um, so
Oh.
yeah, so that was happening on the Saturday, um, and I yeah
Huh.
I saw a bunch of photos and it looked really cool. Looked like it's like a lot of fun.
I would check that out. Yeah, it reminds me of, and again, this old school now. I don't know if this is still going on, but I know in the days in which myself and city in Toronto, they had art battles where I'm assuming it's mostly OCAD and other art school students.
Mm.
Excuse me. They would get together and basically have that kind of event where you'd have 3 or 4 artists. They would get an hour to draw and paint or whatever medium they wanted, really, to make an art piece. And then, yeah, I think people would vote on and then for like a winner, and then also bid on the pieces. And I remember that being like, I almost feel like it was Steam Whistle sponsored. I always remember, Kiddie Pools of Ice with Steam Whistle in it being around. But yeah, that's what that sounds like to me, and that would be super cool. So that will be something I check out for sure next time around.
Yeah, I think they're doing it at Toronto Comic Con in March as well. I think they did it then for the first time, and then this is the second time that they've done it at Expo Canada.
Yeah, like a little test and trial run. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that'd be super cool. Yeah. Something to definitely go, even just to photograph it and check out the area and let people know what it's about. That would be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess then in my news, yeah, I'm in a writing competition.
Yeah.
It's called Writing Battle. WB is the acronym. Jeez, the word sometimes. Yeah, Writing Battle. So if anyone is interested, I can't show that because that would give away certain details.
So is it a similar thing to this, like a sketch battle type thing? It just
kind of. To be honest with you, so I don't know how well this. Okay, I got to darken my screen here. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but that's the website. It's called Writing Battle, and they have a series of these things. Like every couple of months, they do a couple, and they have like peer reviewed or peer judged, and then industry judged. And they're all different lengths. So I know there's one coming out like next month, which I might be a part of and might join based on how this first one has gone, because I've really enjoyed it. But basically how this thing works, so I signed up, and then on the start date, basically you log in and it gives you your like page and your battle page. And prior to the go time, which for me it was like 39, like 8 or something, there is on screen 3 cards: a genre card, a character card, and a object card.
Mm-hmm.
And basically on go time, those cards flip over to tell you your genre, character, and object. And you have to use these things. Now they're pretty loose. Like the competition I entered was a flash fiction, so it's 250 or 150 to 250 words. That's it. So it is 4 paragraphs, 2 paragraphs if you're wordy, 1 if you really like to go for it. But basically, how it works. So you get your stuff. You're then given 24 hours to lock it in.
Mm-hmm.
So they allow you to re-roll the genre 3 times, and then the character and object 6 times. And then after 24 hours, it locks in on you. So whatever it is at that 24-hour mark, that's what you're getting. And then you have an additional 24 or 48 hours to finish the piece. You then submit it. And then after a couple days, it basically goes into what they call duels. So there are, for the one I was in, there was 5 rounds of duels. And how that works is basically every 4th, 5th day, you're given 2 writing pieces that are never written in the same genre that you wrote. So I think there's 5 or 6 genres total. And so you read the 2 pieces. You then have room to give, basically state what did you like and what are some criticisms. And it has to be like actual thoughtful criticisms. Apparently all of it is reviewed to make sure that it is in fact good criticism and not just like, I didn't like your piece, you don't write well. But
Right.
stuff like, hey, I really like this. However, if you had done XYZ, or look at your sentence structure, or something like that, something actually, useful.
Something actionable, something actual
Yeah,
constructive that you can take and apply to your next round, next
exactly.
draft. Yeah.
Yeah, so you go through these 5 duels, giving feedback on both, and then I'm selecting a winner, and you click it. And then every, like I said, 3 to 4 days, it gives you another one. You do the 5 duels, judge them. And now I'm at that point. So I've done all my 5. Assumedly, my story has been judged by other people. And then on September 7th, I think, yeah, in 9 days, 19 hours, 22 minutes, and 50, 49, 48, 40, like, it gives me a counter. The judging will be complete. And what's interesting is, so they have within the site, they have forums, they have a debrief page. So those two I find interesting. So the forums, you can just go post, you go, hey, I'm Konrad, I'm new to this. How we all feeling about it? What's new? Who else is new? You can comment and all sorts of stuff. And then there's the debrief. So the moment the 5 duels were over, it was like, hey, you can now share your story, and it allows you to, like, basically it preloads it, but it's like, hey, click upload and you're good, and then you share it, and then people who haven't gotten to see it yet, assumedly everyone who's taken place or taken part in the duel, which I believe was 2,000 people, basically they can go and they can comment and be like, hey, I really like this, I don't like that, tried doing this, this worked really well. I to my own pride, and not to boast too well, but someone called my writing visceral, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, like
It means that it's affecting them, like they're actually feeling what or there. Right?
Yeah, like it was cool to get to read that. So like over the last couple days, every so often I'll get like a bing on my phone, and it's like, oh, what's this? And I check it out. Someone else has read my story and they left some feedback, which is pretty cool. And I think I mentioned this earlier, like I paid, I think it was 20 Americans. Like it was like $28, say $30. And to already just be like, all right, cool. Here's your prompts, go and write. You only have this many words. To get to do that already, I was like, all right, cool. Like it's forcing me to do something I'm not normally just going to do, because I tend to write sort of longer form. If I sit down and write, it's usually 500 to 1,000 words right then and there, and then it'll be add on later. Whereas it was like, hey, here's your limit. Like, figure out your word economy, figure out what you're really trying to say. Is that word, is that sentence, is that thought important? If not, cut it, go, move.
Yeah.
And I really dug that. And
now,
now,
you
like,
can't be indulgent. You have to be really aware of what you're trying to say, which means that you're focusing. It's focusing you on your it's easy to write a lot, I think, for some artists or for some writers, but
yeah,
it's hard to get to parse it down to like the real important parts.
so hard. Like, actually, a piece of feedback I got was very directly related to this. This guy wrote, Dean is his name, but he wrote back basically, only other tiny nitpick was some of the syntax tripped a little. Example, the start of the 3rd paragraph felt like, and then he quoted me, whispers woke her. And he writes, should just be the sentence without the speech after. Because I wrote, whispers woke her, comma, and then quotations, are you sick? And thinking back on it now, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it actually reads better. Just whispers woke her, and then keep going with what I wrote. So that alone is honestly more valuable to me than the $30. Now, if I happen to win this particular competition, the genre winner gets 1,600 USD. The runner-up gets 400 USD. and I think there's something for like the third place.
Mhm.
If I happen to win, oh my god! But like, I don't know. I feel what I've gotten out of this so far has taught me far more than like $30 feels like it should get me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm cruising and happy.
And you know what I mean? I think having failure under your belt is probably more beneficial than like if you win right off the bat and then you're like, now your expectation is like, oh, I can do this. I'm really good at it. And then the next
Yeah,
time you do it, it doesn't work out that way and it hits you even harder. Right. So failure does prepare you. Now, if you do win it, you have to, it's the difficult part for you is going to be like, okay, this may be it. This may be the one thing. And then
yep,
I have to want to do this enough that's whether I won or not. To your point, you're getting more out of the learning from it, and I think if you just keep that as a
oh,
mindset, right?
oh
Now
yeah,
the winning does open doors potentially, and that's the other part you can take into because now you can bring that to other
hmm
wherever whatever if you submit stories for like role playing or you can say you have that under your belt, right? So that's always a good way to get into some of these places too.
oh yeah. Like it's interesting. Like when I have submitted work to places, um, and there was like, "What's your CV?" And I'm like, "Literally nothing." And then after I had last year gotten into the Big Smoke Pulp Volume One, I was like, "Hey, actually, I have a writing credit. Thank you. That was cool." Uh, Hypothetically, if I win this or got runner up, I could say, runner up in Flash Fiction Writing Battle 2025.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely been fun to get to see how other people write, especially their takes on the same exact subject matter. And I think it's pushed me to think differently about the details I provide, uh, the way that I set up stories and scenes and things like that. So it's yeah, I highly recommend it if anyone out there is looking to get into writing, or even just as a hobby. Like if you're just like, I kind of like writing. Um, Under the idea that you will not win, but you'll get exposed to other stuff. Go check out Writing Battle. It was so far it's been a very positive experience, and it's not terribly expensive to join. And if nothing else, you'll find some other people who like writing, and that's pretty cool.
Well, I'm proud of you for doing it, man. It's awesome. That's the like part of that's just really just doing these, just writing and putting yourself out there and then learning from that. What I think is really super cool about it is you're seeing how other people are approaching something the same story.
Yeah.
And so you're going, "Ooh, that's interesting the way that the tool they used here." You just take it. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
big
not
time.
like you're writing the story and taking the story that they wrote. It's just you're going to use that tool like the way that they, used a voice or the way that they describe something. And so it gives you like, because then you can compare it to what you did and you're like, well, the way I went about it was this, and it totally created the story now in this direction, and the way they did it is this way, and made it like a little bit more comedic. But yeah, I like how they did that.
Yeah, it's definitely like I, I think I think it's more readily apparent for visual artists because so many people will draw and then post it online. And that's like easy to see, but the act of having to sit down and read something that some wow, words, to read something that someone has written, even if it's 250 words, it takes like you have to sit there and do it. You can't just look at it and go, oh, pretty. Um,
But
so I
sorry.
oh,
I was just going to say, though, to your point of the bigger thing, one of the biggest differences for artists and writers is I can draw Conan and look to see how Mike Ruth draws Conan and go,
mhm.
love how he's doing the muscle, his face, and then I can try to emulate that, and it's just practice work, right?
Oh yeah,
You don't necessarily have when it's something where as a writer, it's like a little bit weird for you to like take, let's say, Edgar Allan Poe story and then like write your way you would write an out. Like it's a weird,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of, it's a weird thing. So this way gets you a little bit closer to you being able to take, like everybody's doing the same story, but they're doing their approach to it, and therefore there's no ownership over it, and
Yeah.
you everybody is full freedom to take from everybody else, to like take the parts of it you want to see how they're writing it, because at the end of the day you're going to still write it the way you would write it. You're not going to write in their voice. You're just going to use
Mhm.
some of the tools they're using, and that's a real, that doesn't happen a lot for writers. I don't think that's something that writers have access to unless they go to some kind of writing conference.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, I think this is a really valuable tool. I mean, you'll find out after you've done it, like how much you get out of it. I would think you may want to keep on doing it.
Yeah, honestly, that's like, I think one of the things that I didn't expect to get out of it that like has proven to me like mentally and not mentally like mental health wise, but like from a learning perspective and a exposure perspective, it's provided me so much where like one of the comments that someone wrote on about my story was like, "Oh, I really like the mechanics of your story," which I found
Mm-hmm.
interesting because I wouldn't think of it like that. But I understood what they said. Like, they sort of flushed out what they meant by it, um, and I found the comment interesting. So I was like, "Oh, cool! I didn't know that I was doing that well or in an interesting manner." But then, yeah, like to have other people do their take on stuff, even when it's vastly different, has proven to be extremely enriching. And like seeing the way that someone might set up a scene and ignore speech at all or completely and dive into something else. Like you said, I'm going to steal it. I'm like 100%. I loved how they did that. So I'm going to take that little thing there and I'm going to take that little thing over there. But yeah, I really don't think there is a lot of exposure to it online where it's like people wanting to do it. And then, like you said earlier, it's not something where like I'm going to go look at The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe and write my own version of it. Like, that would be weird. But like
It's
to
also
look
a
at his
lot more of
story,
an investment of time, right?
yeah,
Like,
oh, big time, yeah.
yeah.
But like to look at, say, the writing elements and the way that that was set up, because I do happen to love that. I don't want to call it a poem; it is a poem, but like that piece, um, to take some of those elements and use them in my own writing, and to be able to
Mm-hmm.
just sort of graft on, oh, hey, this worked really cool. Pop that into my brain, so the next time I write, I can do that. Yeah. So yeah, again, folks, absolutely. If you are thinking of getting into writing, even just as like something fun to do, writing battle, go check it out. It's pretty cool, and they have a new one coming up soon. Um, yeah, and then on the end of Keith of what you're working on, I appreciate we've got like 11 minutes left in the show. But I feel like for the folks out there live on YouTube land and potentially on Twitch, because we are streaming live on Twitch as well. One, thank you for tuning in. Highly appreciate you. Keith, what are you working on right now? What is this thing that people are seeing if they didn't catch the start of the show?
So it's a pitch book called, well, it's for a graphic novel called Christian County, and it's a pitch book. It's going to be 12-page story, basically the first couple of chapters, and some art and stuff like that. So when we can sell it, you're getting like a sense of like what the story is going to be,
Mhm.
introducing some of the main characters and where to give you an idea of where the story direction is going to go. And so um, what I'm working on right now is from the thumbnail. So let's see, I've got 10 minutes to explain this. So
Crunch time.
when part of my process, I read the script, start to think about what the visuals are going to be for the script, and I'll do very quick, like super small thumbnails. I think I've talked about this before. I've shown them
Yeah.
before. Very, very small, digital thumbnails. They're in other words, if I were to zoom in like on them, you'd see the pixelation quite a bit. So I'm working very, very small. It's important to do that because you get quick. It's quick. You're not supposed to put a lot of time into the like a lot of little detail and stuff into it. It gives you an idea of like the flow of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and it also allows for you to figure out like how the characters are acting and to fully form the characters. And so all those things um, get me to the next point, which is then I share that with the writer. The writer can usually tell from the thumbnails because they're tight enough what's going to happen, and then from there I just go off and finish the story. Usually, sometimes sometimes the writer gets in there somewhere in the process just to see where things are. But okay, well from there I take the thumbnails and I blow them up to something larger, oftentimes larger than a comic book, so that I can work really detailed into the story, into what the page is going to be. I can really get into detail if I want to. However, because I'm working digitally, I can also work like 1-to-1 size ratio of 1-to-1. So in other words, whatever the size of the comic page is, this is the size I'm working on the story. And I've
Okay.
learned that, and this is a very recent thing. I just did Saltwater where I did it larger than the comic book because there was a lot of detail happening that I wanted to get into, and so I felt that it was a good one to do. But I've also done it where I've done 1-to-1, and I haven't. I've been playing around with this because I realized that
Okay.
like in the past I'm like, why am I working larger? I don't need to. It's wasting time. But I did find that working 1-to-1, sometimes it's hard to get some of the detail I want to get in there with some of the more
Interesting.
um, complex story. Like if you have a real detailed character, it's harder to get some of the lines in there. So like I've tried it where I've done 1-to-1 with a more complex, and it worked, but it was limitations to it. And when you work
Hmm.
larger than the let's say 2-to-1, you can sometimes get lost in like the detail of it that aren't necessary. So
Yeah.
there's advantages and disadvantages to both ways of doing it. Well, when I was doing this story, I realized that I'm like my thumbnails were so tight that if I started penciling them, I'm like going, I'm just going to lose some of the energy, right? Like
Oh,
if I
interesting.
work
Yeah.
it, because I wasn't going to work larger on this one. I just think because a lot of there's not a lot of, you can see it's like a lot of background is just white space here, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to fill it in with anything. It's not needed. And I don't always know these things until I start working on it. So it's hard to kind of be able to guess
Oh.
like how it's going to work plan out because every story is different, right? I don't always work in this very cartoony style. So for me to do this, it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a different thing than what I'm normally used to. So I was looking at my thumbnails and I'm going, God, they're when I blow them up, I'm still really able to see a lot, and they're tight. And I don't think I need to go 2-to-1 on this because um, you're going to lose it. The story itself is it's like the stuff you find under your couch, so it's going to be kind of gritty anyway, right?
Yeah.
So there's a point to like, all of these things are kind of telling me what the process should be, right? So I want to see some of the grittiness. So if I make it too big, and when it shrinks down, some of that grittiness is lost. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I decided to work 1-to-1. Then when I was like, oh, when I blew up the thumbnails, and I'm like, well, if I pencil them, it's just going to lose some of the energy. I like some of the way that this, um, the what I drew, and so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to like work directly from thumbnail to like inks, right?
Nice.
So,
Okay.
like again, it's always really hard to know. Like honestly, I have no idea. Whenever I'm
Yeah.
working with collaborating with somebody, I tell them a lot of this stuff I don't find out until I'm in the thumbnails and even later on, right? And so it's just you kind of have to adapt with each story
Mm-hmm.
because if you're if you're slavish to like the process that you've set up for everything, you're going to be missing out on potential growth because
Oh, I like that.
you're not taking risks where and I, like that's just something that takes time. Like, for me to be doing this at this in this way, I don't know if I could have done this a year or two ago. Like it's just me coming more comfortable with like how to draw and knowing my process and being okay with things that are a little bit messier, not exactly like perfectly like technical, but something about the energy of it just
Oh
makes it
yeah.
like Scotty Young, who's a well-known, I think it's Scotty Young, is a well-known comic book artist. I've been watching some of his Instagram messages, and he's very much saying the same thing as me, which is like I don't work like really like my stuff is very loose, and it took me a long time to get to being comfortable with that, and so I was like, you know what, yeah, like I like that, I like that is kind of I am very loose. You've said it before. My stuff is always very like you can see like some of um, the gritty
Yeah,
textures
like
and the
there's such a
lines and
texture
stuff.
to your work.
So it's just you lean into that kind of stuff, and then it works for you, right? Especially with a certain kind of some stories work better than others in regards to that kind of uh, saltwater number 6 was a little bit more wasn't it was more clean lines. That's why it needed to work larger because the lines needed to
Uh,
feel much cleaner, and I just that's not me when you can see I'm more comfortable with a bit more gritty. So working larger means when it shrinks down, some of the hand wobble, some of the grittiness that you see in
oh, right on.
the
Yeah.
ink, or I'm using a different brush actually than I was. The brush I would use with saltwater is a much uh, finer brush, and this is a bit more gritty. So
Ah.
all of those things make inform your decision, right?
Yeah, and I mean one of the things that caught my attention about this piece, um, especially compared to saltwater, because the last couple times that we've done the show, and you've shown saltwater pages, like they're even the pages where there's like tons of stuff in them, and it's like sort of a hectic looking scene. The lines are very crisp, and the one shot where you're playing with a little bit of depth where you're showing like outer space, and then there's a ship. All
Mm-hmm.
the lines on everything were like really tight and nice, and all the panel work was cool. And then like with this piece, it's such a contrast where like literally the panels have a little bit of wobble to them. They're not perfectly centered. They're not they're just kind of on
Yeah.
there. And then the bottom of the page there, where like you said, there's no color to the walls. There's no filling. It's just kind of we've got the I'll call it a bookshelf, but toy shelf, whatever. On the other side, we've got the skateboard and stuff. It's like you said, it's very cartoony, um, and yet your style is also working very well in it. It's interesting, um, and I guess yeah, like you said, don't be a slave to the process and learn and adapt. Now, okay, we've very little time left. So what I was curious about, so you're making this 12-page uh, pitching book. In the world in which you go, you pitch it, someone falls in love with it, and they buy it from you. Now, from what I've come to understand about writers, you go, you pitch your book, a publishing house looks at it and goes, "Yeah, we'll do that. We would print this book." Um, in the cases where the book is not yet complete, usually they'll set up a contract, and they'll say, "Hey, the total funds is this, and you get a chunk on signing, you get a chunk on first draft submission, a chunk on edits, and a chunk on publication." And then thereafter, whatever your contract might be for um, royalties. Um, in the case of something where you're doing a graphic novel, is it similar where it would be like when they take the 12 pages, they look at it and they go, "Yeah, this could be a really cool graphic novel we publish." If that happens, you sign the contract, sign the dotted line. Do you then get paid a chunk, and then when like the pages are done, you know? Oh, okay, okay.
So, well, I mean, most of the time, no. In the book world, you could. In the comic book world, no. Generally, it's uh, you're getting paid after book sales. So
Okay.
I hate this world, this part of the world of this. It's such a, um, I understand the publishers a lot of these publishers wouldn't exist if it didn't work this way. And part of me is like, they shouldn't. And part of me is like, but then,
But then
you
where would
know,
you go?
yeah, I mean, it's so here's the dirty truth. It's that creative teams either need to get like some kind of Kickstarter or some kind of like a grant from like an arts grant or some
Yep.
kind of private funding to get to have this done, or you have like oftentimes for me it's the writer paying out of pocket, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like there's just no way I'd love to do this for free. I don't have the ability to do it because the reality of it is, if I'm doing something like one of my own things or something with somebody where like we don't have the funding, that story comes out whenever I have the time to do it. And so
Yeah.
it may never come out. So it's just one of those things where if you want something to come out, there's got to be some finances, there's got to be money.
Yeah. Got to be able
And
to pay the
so,
bills while you're taking the time to
yeah,
draw everything, plan it all out.
and you've got to make a livable wage potentially from doing it too. So the industry really takes advantage of artists and writers being eager to get exposure. I mean,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, what you get out of working with some of these publishers is they may get you some recognition that could get you some more work. Now that work you may get could be like a page rate type situation, or it could be just working with somebody who has finances
Hmm.
to be able to take care of you. It may get you like into shows, and may get you commission work. So there are ways that you get something out of working with these publishers that
Yeah.
essentially work with like it's mainly like a royalties base after um, the money. I mean, and just to be clear, you know, if you sell 5,000 books, uh, that money doesn't, all the proceeds don't necessarily go to the creative team, but it has to go for whatever the printer, the distribution, and the marketing of the publisher has put into it, right? Because they pay all that stuff as well. So they're, I mean, it's not like a completely uneven trade. They're taking care of all that stuff up front
Oh
so
yeah.
that you don't have to pay. You get access to all these bookstores, and you get printing, and you get distribution and stuff. So that is what you get out of it. But um, then once money starts coming in, then like after all that stuff's been paid for,
Yeah.
then that's when you may start to see pennies, right? And it really is
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
pennies. And so, yeah, like with a graphic novel, I think you know my feeling, and Sarah and I have to have a conversation about what we want to do with this, but ultimately she's aware of what the cost of this is going to be. She knows that probably one of the best ways to go about this is like some kind of fundraiser.
Hmm.
But you need to see if people are interested in the story first. So that's why you do like a pitch book, and you get people to
Right on.
like, you get them hooked. They're like, oh, I really like this story. Uh, what's happening next? And you're like, well, as a matter of fact, here, give us your information. We'll contact you when we're ready to do a fundraiser for it. And you get enough of a list from selling these pitch books, hopefully, that when you do decide to do a fundraiser, you've got a built-in audience that's waiting for the book,
Right
right?
on. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, um, they're and they're I'm doing the same thing with the Summer on the Swing. It's the exact same process with, in this case, my parents have funded for me to work on this because they recognize, again, it's never going to come out otherwise. Like I would love to work.
Yeah.
I love
Exactly.
working
Yeah.
with my mom, and I would love to do it where I just do it. You know, I don't have to worry about money coming in, but that's not how it works. And so, um, they've been very generous in that way. But they want to that on their end, we want to make sure that they can like it's expensive to print, right? And
Yeah.
also ultimately it'd be great if the book then if we did a Kickstarter for Summer on the Swing, and we made enough money that they can take, recoup some of their cost, right?
Hell yeah.
And so that's that's the nature of the way this works nowadays, right? It's just you have to really love what you're doing. You can't expect that you're going to make a lot of money from this. It's a labor of love, but also you have to put the work in if you want to recoup, right? See some kind of
Massive.
money back from it. So you just have to be very realistic in regards to like what that looks like. And the funny thing is, and I think this is a very good likelihood, is that you create the thing, you put all this money and effort into it, you know don't see anything back really from it, but then because you have an editor pick up the book and go, hey, this is really good, I'd love to publish this for you. And then you're like, oh, okay. Right. After all this like heartache and
Yeah.
hard work and all that stuff and financial drain and stuff, 5 years later, somebody comes by when you're least expecting it and you're like, oh, sure. Right. And then, hopefully then all of a sudden, you can start to actually make money from the thing. Right. But you can't expect that.
That'd be awesome.
It's a long game, and you have to, so yeah. So with this book, the Cushion County and with the Summer on the Swing, those are both going to be hopefully fundraisers where people can, and we'll obviously once the books are out and we know when the fundraisers are going to be, we can let people know on this podcast, like, if they want to get, like, it's essentially, I look at it as a pre-order. They get to, get their hands on the book and some extra goodies and stuff like that. So
hell yeah. And I mean, in the case of this, like having that 12-page pitch book, that just fills out, say if it's a Kickstarter, because that's the popular thing within comics right now, that fills out your Kickstarter campaign for all your visuals that you might need. Like, fantastic. Well, Keith, we are now beyond our hour by a bit, but I think that's perfectly fine. As always, it's been fantastic chatting with you about Fan Expo, going as a fan, as about some controversy there and the police being called, which is fascinating, about the writing competition, writing battles that I'm in, as well as your pitch book that you're setting up for Cushion County, which looks so fun. Well, Keith, I've had a great time. For the folks out there in YouTube land, thank you for tuning in. It's much appreciated. We see you and we appreciate you. Do like the video, comment down below what you thought of Keith's drawing, anything we talked about today, or something you found interesting in the world of comics. Subscribe for more. Yeah,